Hey buddies, welcome to AmassGames. My name is Simon. Today we're looking at a rather heavy trick-taking game. In particular, this is set in the 16th and 17th century in England, very much about a religious tone, and we're going to be playing over 3 rounds of 3 different monarchs in England and ultimately try and get the best score. So this is a game for 3 to 5 players. This is by Dragon Dawn Games and it happens to be my most anticipated game from Essen 2023. This is 2024 at time of recording. I've got about 7 other games by Dragon Dawn Games and those include promos and expansions. So what we're going to be doing is I'm just going to move everything out of shot. I'm going to be teaching you through actually about the history of the game first, but whilst I'm doing so, I will also be showing you some of the cards, just to give you a bit of context. As I mentioned, Tolerance is the name of the game, and it's not called Intolerance. It's quite easy to make that mistake. And it's a game, like I said, in the 16th century, whereby England wanted to separate from the folds of papal authority. Unlike many other countries experiencing Reformation, in England that was driven by monarchs who wanted more wealth and more authority over their own affairs. There are various cards in play, so we've got various different suits. This is a trick-taking game, as I mentioned. If you do not know about trick-taking games, I'll give you a brief overview. Crucially, there's going to be a lead suit. A suit is basically a different faction, a different colour, which we'll come on talking to you about. And you're going to have to play a card out. So, for example, if I played a 5, you've got to play the same colour as I do. And if you don't play the same colour, you will not win unless you play a special suit that basically trumps it. That's called a trump suit. So in this case, if yellow was more powerful and you played a yellow, then yellow would win, and you're going to be resolving these effects here. But let me talk to you about the theme a little bit more in more detail as I go through showing you some of the artwork as well, which I also find rather fascinating. So multi-use cards in some respects, multi-different symbols, which I'll kind of come on to talking to you about as well. But let me talk to you about the theme of this game. And if you do not want to actually be distracted, let's say, by looking at these cards, by all means close one eye or, of course, both, as I tell you a little bit more about this. So, as I mentioned, it's all about these monarchy that were driving basically the wealth and authority over their own private affairs, and removing this papal yoke was an important part of their ambition. So this period also brought enlightenment from many creative minds throughout Europe, and technological and scientific progress blossomed, followed by a more tolerant theological atmosphere. So Queen Mary, from 1516 to 1558, was a devout Catholic and aimed to basically turn England back into Catholicism at any cost and reverse the English Reformation begun by her father, Henry VIII. All subjects to the crown were required to be Catholic by royal decree, yet the seeds of Reformation were there and growing, and she reigned for 5 years, during which she executed around 300 religious dissenters, earning her quite an interesting alcoholic beverage named after her. So after her came Queen Elizabeth I. This is now basically round 2, which I'll talk to you about what that means in a moment. From 1533 to 1603, she's the half-sister of Mary and was known to be more tolerant than more recent monarchs and avoided systematic religious persecution or demand conversion. She established and became Supreme Governor of an English Protestant church, and which later evolved into the Church of England, and during her long reign, people allowed some latitude and some benefits with their beliefs. Elizabeth also had no obvious or romantic suitors and produced no heir, earning her the sobriquet the Virgin Queen, which we'll talk about in a different video, and ended the reign of the House of Tudor. So by all means, do like, subscribe and hit the notification bell. This is a how to set up and play video as opposed to how to set up, play and review. The review I will be bringing you in another video. So James I, that final round, he was from 1566 to 1625 and effectively united the kingdoms of England and Scotland, and also governed Ireland, becoming the self-styled King of Great Britain and Ireland. He continued with the Reformation and heavily patronised the arts. And through him, he was a peaceful man and avoided religious wars. He faced many conflicts with the English Parliament and survived the Gunpowder Plot. So there we go. Let me talk to you about the overview then. So Tolerance is a trick-taking game for 3 to 5 players, as I mentioned, which follows the tumultuous years as Britain cuts adrift from the Catholic Church, carving out a new national church, the Church of England, with the monarch as its supreme head. The Reformation also leads to the unforeseen redistribution of wealth and land and allows a resurgence of the middle class, of non-ennobled merchants. For the vast majority of the people, the peasants, however, life was miserable, unfair, and filled with little prospects of improvement. The faith that something better awaits them than hard toil on earth was for some people only just a hope. So, as you can see, some rather fantastic looking artwork going on here. By the way, the designer is a rather interesting designer. Very impressed with this person's work. This is pretty much a one-time studio effort. And the designer, by the way, is over down here, Ren Multimaki. And what I'm going to do is just basically show you how you're going to play out a hand. Okay, so as I mentioned about how trick-taking games work, I'm going to give you a hand and how it's going to work. So during the first round of the game, if you happen to see any of these symbols, they basically represent something specific. And the second round, they're slightly different. It's basically how aligned to the church you are. And ultimately, this basically represents if you're basically Catholic or not. So that basically means you're Catholic in the first round. In the second round, basically it's going to be neutral. And the third round, it basically represents being Protestant. So that's how this game is going to go. That's basically the gist of it. So, like I said, we're going to be scoring up and seeing how it goes. You might win a trick, but as I'll come on to, you might not necessarily score any good points. And that's because there's various symbology going on here, which I'll briefly show you in the rulebook. We have kill, condemn, convert, collect taxes, collect piety, guild members, etc. So as I mentioned, there's 3 different rounds, and we have a little table here with the monarchs, as I mentioned. And like I said, the various different religious aspects that we're talking about. So in terms of this, let's just talk to you about what we can see on the card over here. We've got over here the religious affirmation. We've also got the rank, so obviously the higher the better. We've also got the suit that I've talked to you about earlier. As well as that, we've got various different suits. So we've got things such as the clergy here. We happen to have nobles. We happen to have wilds. So basically that could be anything you like. And there's a few others in here too. So if you can always lead with the wild as well. We've also got townsfolk. And lastly, in green, we happen to have the peasants as well, which kind of match the colour card as well. There's also piety value, which you can see here, and lastly monetary value. So that can be good because you might want coins at the end of the game, because there's also asymmetry going on. You can choose to play different characters, but I will show you initially how to play with the standard vanilla character, which means everybody's going to be playing the same, i.e. it's a symmetric game. However, what you can choose to do is hide who you're playing as in the special variable powers, and therefore people don't know until you're playing it. So now let's show you how an example of the game works. I'm going to lay down a card. Let's say I play this, and everybody has to play a red card. In this case, this person happens to have a wild, so they can follow, but in this case, it's not higher than, so it's come second, so this is beating this card. The next 2 players happen to be playing these cards, and in this case, they haven't managed to beat it, and it didn't have to be trump, so this player happens to win, and now they're going to resolve what's happening. So how do you resolve it? You resolve it in the highest rank first. So in this case, you're resolving this card, and then you're resolving this card, and then this one, this one. So it could be this person went first, and of course that would change it, or this person might lead. But ultimately, we are going off with this being the order, and I'm going to move these out of shot so we're not going to get confused. So how does this work? Well, let's just grab our playables quickly as well. So we've got various characters. We've got Ned, we've got Protestant, Bertrand Balance. This is how everybody's going to play initially. And at the end of each round, we're doing various things as well. We're looking to see how many points we can score based on how many people that we've got of those various different factions, such as peasants, various kind of townfolk, etc., clergy. So in this first round, we want lots of peasants, we want lots of townsfolk here, and here we want loads of clergy. You can also get these representing stars, basically victory points as well, for basically if people are alive or dead. So over here, if they're dead, you can get more points in the James era. So that can be quite beneficial. So basically, you don't want clergy over here. Or you might do. So again, that's the balanced version of the game, but as you can see, things are very different on all the other characters, and all these people are based on real people as well. So everybody's also going to have a little player aid showing you that when you take a card, everything is going to go in front of you, which I'll show you how that works in a second. But let's just resolve this though. So we're starting off over here, we've got Preacher Gilbert, we have got the Bailiff, we've got Catherine de Medici, and we've got the Valiant Knight. So let's go for head first. This person is trying to convert the person with the lowest piety. So who do we have the person with the lowest piety? Well, we're trying to look over anything but Protestant. There is nothing that is Protestant, and therefore there's no effect to this. In case you're wondering how that is determined, you go to the back of the rulebook, and people have been making jokes about this person's trying to get better Wi-Fi symbol. I think this is in the Metropolitan Museum of Art in I think it's New York. So over here we can look up clergy, so we know it's clergy, we know it's card 10, here it is convert the lowest piety, Protestant to Catholic. In this case we haven't got anybody, in this instance, of this particular symbol, which can be converted, who happens to be the lowest piety. So in that case nothing has changed. Right, we're next going to go on to the next card down. So next we have the Bailiff. So what is this person doing? Well, they're claiming taxes from the 4 listed suits. So here are the listed suits that they're talking about. However, we're talking about these suits here. And in this case, we do not have any of those suits here. We've not got nothing of this one. And if we look ahead to this one, there's nothing here. So there's nothing to collect. But in this case, you can collect it for yourself. And obviously, these 2 are going to be taxed. So in this case, you are looking to tax. So you're going to be claiming -1 over here. you're going to claim a 3 over here, and you're going to claim a 0. So you're basically going to claim 2 coins. And again, coming back to that player aid, you're also going to be using your roll and writes scratch off sheet. So you're going to have a piece of paper that you can be amending and writing down your notes. So everybody's going to have one of these pieces of paper, and you're going to be just writing on here how many coins you're getting. So you're going to be writing 2 in there because you've gained 2 coins from the bailiff. And now we're going to be looking at Catherine de Medici over here. And in this case, she's going to collect piety. So you can see there's a piety symbol going on here. So she's collecting it from this particular faction or suit. So this one and this one, which we can see is here and here. So how that's going to work is she's going to collect 6 from, let's double check this, that's over from here, and from Preacher Gilbert, she's going to collect 6 over there, and that's over here, so 6 piety, and she's going to be collecting 4 over on the knight side, because again there happens to be 4 here, because there's 4 here, and that's it, because it's the higher values. So in this instance, we're now looking up over to the knight. So the knight is over here. And in this case, his allegiance is currently, as you can see, Catholic, but he might well become Protestant. So in round 1 and round 3, well, currently he's trying to be Protestant, or currently he's Catholic, but in round 3 he would score nothing, but in round 2, when obviously we've got this symbol going on, he would be neutral. So then you're going to write down all your coins you've got, or your piety you've got, obviously going on here, and sometimes you can unlock bonuses as well. So we do have the Valiant Knight to talk about last. So in this case, he must kill 1, in this case he's got a death symbol going on, he must kill one of those things, one of the nobles in this case, because blues represent nobles. So to kill one of the nobles, what they're going to be doing is, unfortunately, again, they're going to be deceased, and in this case he's got to lose something from his hand. So this person chose to chuck in that card, knowing they wouldn't win the trick perhaps, and therefore know that person's got to take something at a loss, which is glad that they didn't win this perhaps. So in this case, like I said, they are going to lose a card, and they're killing the card of the lowest rank who hasn't acted yet. In this case, that other card would not get to do its effect, which basically meant if it was killing off, there's a 5th player, it'd kill off this card, that card wouldn't do anything, so that could be quite timely. But in this case, that is the final card to be played. So at the end of the night's actions, all the cards are placed, as I said, on my player board. It happened to be me winning this, so let me coming back to show you my player board. So I've got this over here, so we can see who's living and who is dead. And then obviously we're going to see what we can do. So the Bailiff and the Valiant Knight go into living. So we can pick this up now. So we take these, and they're basically living. So they're going to living, and they're going living over here, because of course they got converted. Or basically depending on where they were. And in this instance, we've also got Preacher Gilbert also goes over to living as well. So he's going to go to the living area. And Catherine de Medici to the deceased area because she got killed off. So in this case, we're going to move this up. This person got deceased, so de Medici we can put like that if we want to. Or underneath it, you can put it face down. But Preacher Gilbert will score an additional point, in this case, for Catholicism, because at the end of the round, simply being alive is good. So there we go. So that's it. That is pretty much how rounds are going to go. So you're going to place a total of 36 times. You're playing 12 cards each in round 1, round 2 and round 3 for a total of 36 turns. And like I said, you're being careful on what you're playing. And that's what the thinky kind of heaviness of this game is. You're trying to play a card, but do you want to win a trick? Or do you want to double check these symbologies and see, okay, is this something I want to keep? Now in terms of obviously knowing what these do, you will get to learn them, but pretty much all these cards are unique. So you need to double check, do you want to be trying to not having a coin, giving this card to someone else try and win because then they're losing a coin, etc. And also, of course, you can get points depending on which round you're in and where these cards are, because at the end of 12 turns, you're then obviously looking to complete that round, and then of course you're looking to things such as the Royal Execution. In which case, each monarch card that has an additional symbol, which happens if the monarch is still alive at the end of the 12 rounds, they must now execute and kill one card in any player's tableau. So there's various cards that can come up that have such a symbol, such as over here, so there's got the axe symbol, and you need to be killing somebody off, and you can see we've got Queen Mary going on there, etc. So in around scoring, you're going to collect taxes, so you're scoring exactly 1 coin, and that's not the value of the coin, it's just that you get exactly 1 coin, and that's whereby you can score additional points over here with extra bonuses going on here, and you can also get multipliers. So as you unlock more of these, it's timesing up by the amount of coins that you have. If you happen to have taken a loan at any point as well, again, getting a loan of 3 is going to cost you 5 at the end of the game as well, so bear in mind that, or at least the end of the turn, and that's something to be aware of. So where you're going to be marking stuff on the sheet, you've got continuous tallies going over here, you have got pennants going on down here. Whenever you reach a total of 10, you can keep an eye on that over there, and they've got end of round scores, so here are the 3 rounds, and the end of game scores, so that's where you're going to be placing things over here finally as well. So that's it, you're going to be counting up your score and seeing how you did, and seeing if you happen to be the best person that can be tolerating, obviously, how to do best in this trick-taking game. So after those 3 rounds, yep, you can score victory points eventually for money and for piety, both in equal counts, equal values, and then also going to be checking out, like I said, how well you've scored down here. Again, you're going to score -3 for any kind of loan tokens, and the person with the most of these flower symbols is going to be the winner. And if there's a tie, it's the one with the highest combined piety. So let's check for the I symbol. If there is still a tie, then there's going to be a joint winner. So that's the game. That has been Tolerance. Again, this game came out in 2023, I believe, and I said I found it very interesting. It was very fascinating to see how you can do various different things with these cards. Lots of stuff going on with this card, and I'm aware that other styles of games by this designer have a following kind of theme as well. Again, in terms of the artwork, I think it's quite punchy in some respects, quite bleak in others. But for some people, obviously, I know the medieval theme doesn't always resonate with everybody, but the fact they've used actual artwork is very fascinating. Quite a lot to explain in this game. As you can see, this is not a light game, and obviously there are many other trick-taking games I do have on the channel, so do check my playlist. There's going to be a AmassGames playlist, the Family Weight playlist. I don't think I'll put this in the Family Weight playlist, but I can see about that too. And of course, the How to Set Up and Play playlist. Now, I will be bringing you another video, a bit more about explanation about this when I bring you the review, so I look forward to speaking to you then. By all means, do watch this a second time. I do recommend a second play of this, just to help this kick in and sink in. But as you can see, there's lots of symbology going on here, a lot of references to be aware of, and just seeing how things go. The crucial thing is whoever is leading the trick, which means you've played a card, you've played the highest value in that colour, and no one else can beat it. You are taking those cards and then resolving those effects in the highest value first, in which case you're seeing what they're doing. So again, this means you're converting someone to Catholicism, etc. And that is something you just have to be aware of. Sorry, Protestant. Protestant is this one. But as you can see, there's a fair amount to take on board. But that's been Tolerance. Any questions, do let me know in the comments best on YouTube. And this does get shared, so I did mention about that earlier. Check out the description as well for any kind of errata, goofs, updates, as well as further links, including through to Patreon, as well as Linktree, also the podcast, which I've been talking about this, as well as over on Instagram, where there's over 3,500 posts at time of recording, 2,000 videos, and over 1 million views. So thanks it. We'll speak to you again soon, but for now, that has been Tolerance, which has been very fascinating to discover. For now, back to the table.